to start out the show, we're continuing our series where we've had a chance to talk to a lot of Utah State men's basketball, a lot of individuals with the program, mostly players to this point, though we've had Jared Calhoun on the show a couple of different times. But welcoming on to the program today, we have assistant coach Ben Asher. Ben, how you doing?
I'm doing great, guys. Appreciate you having me on.
Yeah, thanks for your time today, Coach.
I do need to double check. I said your name right?
Yeah, Ben Asher.
Okay, I don't double check because sometimes there's a name where it's like, it's obviously this, and then I'm wrong. So I have to.
Better to be safe than sorry.
I always have to double check. So I know assistant coaches, a lot of times people will know the names, may not always be fully aware of the exact duties, just assist the head coach. One question I kind of want to lead into, I don't know if this will sound condescending because it almost sounds like, what do you do exactly? But I just want to know, walk us through the things you do with the team to help fans be familiarized with your position and your contributions to the team.
Sure, yeah. Every program is a little different, but the way Coach Calhoun does it is he kind of assigns his assistants to really focus on one end of the ball, whether it be offense or defense. So for me, I'm kind of focusing on the offensive side, almost like coordinators, if you will. That's not to say I don't coach defense, but my primary focus would be on the offensive side of the ball, and then positionally, I work with our point guards.
Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say, so just kind of with that, positionally with the point guards and looking at the offensive side of things, I know year to year, everything changes. Maybe not everything, but a lot changes, especially now in this era in which we are with the transfer portal and things like that. But there is some consistency coming over this year. And just maybe speak to that, the consistency with this basketball team and some of the things that you're seeing with the offense and how that's developing.
Yeah, I mean, so last year we finished, I believe, 20th nationally in offensive efficiency according to Ken Palm, right? So when you finish 20th, you probably don't want to tweak too much stuff. But one great thing about Coach Calhoun, and I think he's one of the best offensive coaches in the country, one great thing that he does is he really kind of tweaks and adjusts what we do based on our personnel, right? So obviously this year we won't have the same roster, or this upcoming year we won't have the same roster that we had last year. So there will be some things that are tweaked. But having said that, a lot of what we did, we'll probably look to keep consistent and if it ain't broke, don't fix it type of situation.
So I want to get to the offense, but you've mentioned, working with Coach Calhoun and saying he's one of the best offensive minds in the country. But I think you've worked 4 years with Coach Calhoun, 3 at Youngstown State, 1 here at Utah State. What have you seen from Coach Calhoun as a coach or even as a person that maybe people on the outside don't necessarily see with Jared Calhoun?
Yeah, I think the best thing that he does with his players is he really, really goes out of his way to build relationships, which I know probably sounds like that should be a given, but you'd be surprised, especially in the portal. We talk to a lot of players from other institutions, and it's funny, they basically, you hear some guys say, like, when practice ends, they didn't hear from their coach until practice started the next day, and that's not how Coach Calhoun operates. Like, he's having guys at his house, he's going to dinner, he's going to lunch. We're trying to really foster those relationships off the court because we feel like, the stronger the relationship is off the court, the more trust will be there on the court. And we just want to empower these guys to play confidently and play green is a term we use. We want them to play green, like play freely. So I feel like the relationship aspect is kind of his secret sauce, if you will, because he really, really puts the time in to build those relationships, and they're genuine and authentic.
We probably need to spend a little bit of time also talking about your role in that too. I mean, you're award-winning. I mean, looking back through some of the things, the roster, mid-major assistant coach, rising star back in 2024, the most impactful mid-major assistant coach. The year before that or 2 years before that. So you've been recognized along your path as well for some of the things that you've done as an assistant. What does that mean to you, and why do you think that you received some of those recognitions for those who aren't familiar?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I think I've been fortunate throughout my career. I've worked for a lot of big time head coaches, and conversely, we've had a lot of really good players, right? So like the players are kind of what makes the coach. I'm totally gonna give credit to the guys that I've been able to coach have kind of made me look good. I've been fortunate to, have several stops along the way where we've won, and like I said, I think that's just a testament to the head coaches that I've worked for and the players that we've been fortunate enough to coach.
How did you initially get connected with Coach Calhoun and become part of his staff?
Yeah, so I got my start in college basketball back in 2008. I was a student manager for Bob Huggins at West Virginia University. And when I showed up there as a freshman, Coach Calhoun was actually the assistant coach for Bob Huggins at West Virginia. So our relationship started back then, and we worked together for 4 years. And then he ended up after 4 years, I was on the 5-year plan at WVU, but after 4 years, he actually took a head coaching job at Fairmont State, the Division II program that he worked at to start his head coaching career. So we got 4 years in together from 08 to 12, and then we kind of went our separate ways for several years. And then I think it was in 2020, maybe 2021, he called me when he had an opening at Youngstown State. I was at Rutgers University in New Jersey in the Big Ten at the time, working as the director of basketball operations, and he had an opening on his staff for an assistant coach spot, which I jumped at, and I'm really fortunate to have been with him these last few years. We've had some amazing success, and looking forward to keeping it rolling this year and in the future.
So you both have connections to Bob Huggins. I know Coach Calhoun really likes to bring up Bob Huggins a lot in his time, the time that Calhoun spent at West Virginia. Who's got the best Bob Huggins story, or what's the best one that you have? Bonus points if it involves Coach Calhoun in some way.
That's a good question. My best Bob Huggins story. I guess I'll say, he gets a bad rap. A lot of people see him yelling and screaming on TV, but really and I think that's part of what Coach Calhoun's philosophy comes from, in terms of like he had, some of the best relationships with the players and with the managers and with his assistants. And I guess the best story, the only time I ever got yelled at was one time some food got left out the night before. And, he came in the next day, and I guess I was supposed to put it away. And I heard pretty good about it. But the thing about Bob Huggins is, like, he only really got on you when you deserved it, right? So, like, for the most part, he was loving and hugging his guys off the court. He's kind of a gentle giant, if you will. They call him Huggy Bear for a reason.
Yeah, definitely. So shifting back to Utah State, obviously, I wanted to ask about what you've seen from the roster. Obviously, we can focus on the offensive end where your duties lie, and maybe comparing to last season, not so much to ask like which roster is better and whatnot, but just kind of using last year as a reference. What do you see from this year's roster to kind of explain what fans can expect to be different about this year's squad compared to last year?
Yeah, so, first and foremost, I don't think we'll necessarily have the star power in Ian Martinez, right? Like, that's a guy who pretty much anytime he wanted could turn it on and go get you 15 to 20 points a game, which was a nice luxury to have as an offensive coach, having a guy out there that could just kind of go get a bucket when you need to, right? So I'm not sure. We'll definitely miss that, but I do think overall, I think we're a deeper team. I think we're a longer team. I think we're more athletic, and I think we'll be able to be a little more versatile on the defensive end. And I think we'll be able to, mix up our defenses and be able to just plug and play a lot of different guys into a lot of different pieces. I think we can play big if we need to play big. We can play small if we need to play small. I think our depth is something that so far this summer that's really excited us as a coaching staff.
Is there anything that surprised you about some of the newcomers in particular? Obviously, you would have scouted these guys to want to bring them in. Is there anything that surprised you so far in what you've seen of those guys?
I don't know if anything surprised me per se, but we're happy. Like, when you sign a freshman, you kind of never know how they're going to come in and fit in. And I can honestly say all 5 of our freshmen we're extremely happy with. And same thing with the portal, right? Like, portal recruiting, it's kind of like speed dating nowadays. Like, in the old days, you'd recruit a kid for 2 or 3 years, the high school kid, right when they're a sophomore in high school, you build those relationships with the family. You pretty much know every detail there is to know about them. With the portal, that's expedited greatly, right? So you're kind of trying to make these quick decisions. Now, we're thorough, don't get me wrong. We're calling high school coaches, AAU coaches, anyone that can give us any information on these kids as far as background goes. But at the same time, it's a quick process. You got to make quick decisions. And we're absolutely thrilled with all the 5 portal guys you brought in too. They're come in with great attitudes. They're about the right stuff. They want to work. They want to get better, and they want to win. Most importantly, so when you have a group of guys that really cares about winning above anything else, like that's usually a recipe for success.
We're talking to Ben Asher. He's an assistant coach for the Utah State men's basketball program. And Coach, I want to circle back on something you kind of alluded to. To sum it up, I would say versatility appears to be a key word with the roster this year. I wonder if you could expound on that a little bit about some of the various types of lineups that we could potentially see this upcoming season with the versatility that you have on your roster this year.
Yeah, like I alluded a little bit, I think we can go big. We can play more of a traditional power forward type guy, the Gary Clarks of the world. Even Carson Templin can play some 4, Tucker Anderson. And then we can also kind of play our small ball, which we utilized a lot last year. If you notice, last year we had Dexter Acano playing kind of a small ball 4 at times, which I think we can definitely do this year as well. Some of our freshmen, I think, will help us right away. Adlan El-Amin, Kingston Tosi, those are guys, they can kind of be that small ball 4 in a pinch if we need to. So I think we'll be able to match up with whatever our opponent does. We'll have a counter. If they're small and we feel like we have an advantage to go big, we can do that. And if they're big and we feel like we have an advantage to go smaller and bring their big guys on the perimeter, I think we can do that. I think, obviously we're tinkering right now. We're 4 weeks in to our summer workouts, right? So we're still trying to figure these guys out for sure. But I think so far we feel like there's a lot of different ways we can go with our lineup. We got a lot of ball handlers, we got good shooters, and we got good big guys. So we're kind of checking all the boxes, and we just need to put it all together now and get these guys, some cohesion, and it's that off-court chemistry that I was talking about. Like that's the biggest thing in the summer, again, with the portal guys and the freshmen. We have 10 newcomers, so talent is talent, but the guys need to have cohesion as well. So that's a big part of the process as well. It's just getting them, building those relationships and getting them to really know and trust each other, both on and off the court.
Is there, I know it's early, but is there a position group when you're looking at it thinking, man, we're going to have some tough decisions to figure out how we're going to do rotations with this group because we've maybe got a little bit more than we thought we'd have, or we've got some good depth here?
Quite honestly, and this isn't coach speak, but like all of them, I really think we have point guards, Drake Allen, Kobe King, Jordy Barnes, and then freshman Elijah Perriman has been really good. Like, we've got a lot of different options we can go in that department. The wings, Mason leading the charge with the wings, but you got MJ Collins from Vanderbilt. Luke Kearney from Air Force has been really good this summer. Adlan, like I talked about, Adlan El-Amin and Kingston Tosi, Braden Bowe. I mean, we got a lot of different directions we can go, and then the bigs too. Carson Temple's a guy that's played a lot of minutes. He's experienced. We have a lot of trust in him. And then you got, guys like Zach Keller coming from University of Utah. He was at Wake Forest before. He's played a lot of high-level basketball, and we have a lot of faith that he'll be really good for us. Gary Clark was a 2-time first-team All-League guy at Texas A&M Corpus Christi. So, and then David Iweezy, too, is a freshman that's kind of come in and probably exceeded our expectations for where we thought he would be at this stage in the process. Now, obviously, he still has work to do, as all freshmen do, but he's been a guy that's come in and really, opened our eyes a little bit, and he's someone that I think can definitely have an impact for us as early as this year.
So being over the point guards, what insight can you give us into that position group? You've obviously got Drake, the returner, Jordy returning as someone who played a lot off the bench, and then obviously 2 newcomers. You mentioned Elijah Perriman, the incoming freshman, and then Colby King coming out of He came from Butler, and then he was at something, I forget where he was, St. John's, I think, before that. What insight can you give us into that position group and the skills that a lot of these guys are going to bring, especially those newcomers?
Yeah, they've all been good, and I think that's an area where we maybe even be able to play two of those guys together, whether it's Drake and Colby or Jordy and Drake. The good thing is Drake's got some good size, and Colby's got some a really good scoring ability, right? So they both can play off the ball. I think they're not necessarily going to be exclusively at the point guard, right? I think we have the ability to play multiple ball handlers, which, again, as a guy that kind of focuses on the offensive side, I love that, because I just think that if you have two guys that can go and run your offense or run the break, that makes you that much harder to guard when they're kind of interchangeable pieces can go. So I think you'll probably see some times this year where we're playing more 2 point guards together, just because their versatility allows us to do that.
And I know we're very early in this process, but with this the new rules, I guess you could say, with roster limits and how many scholarships do you have available or roster spots you have available, how much of a challenge is that for you, and kind of managing the roster and what you want to do and who plays, who redshirts, who sits? The answer may be this: we're way too early, but how much have you guys spent thinking about that yet?
So definitely we spent time thinking about that. So, and for those that don't know, prior to this year, we had a 13 scholarship limit. Now with the rev share, we're 15. We get 2 extra scholarships, and we're using all 15. So some programs decided not to even use all 15 because for some of the reasons that you just alluded to, right? There's playing time issues. And what I will say about that is, that's a good problem to have. We'd rather have, too much talent than not enough talent. But like you said, fortunately for us, it's only July, and we don't have to make any redshirting starters, who's going to start, who's going to redshirt, who's going to be in there. We have plenty of time to kind of figure that out. And the good thing about this is that typically those things kind of play themselves out. At the end of the day, we're going to play the guys that are competing the hardest and playing the best, right? So the players will kind of figure that out more than we will. We're not going to go in with any preconceived notions of who's going to play and who's going to do this and who's going to do that. And we're going to let these summer practices obviously are more just kind of laying the foundation. And then when the fall comes, that's when things will start getting a little more competitive in terms of, deciding minutes and stuff like that. But we got plenty of time to figure that out. But it is to your point, it is a concern. But like I said, we'd rather have that concern than the concern of not enough good players, right? So we're fortunate that we do have a deep team, and freshmen, we have 5 of them, right? And it's always going to be a learning curve, no matter how talented they are. It's going to take them some time to kind of get adjusted and get acclimated. So, but they're definitely talented enough to work their way into, the rotation or the lineup and stuff. So we're excited at the possibilities of what we have moving forward.
Again, we're talking with Ben Asher, Utah State men's basketball assistant coach. And just kind of last question from me. Mason Falslev is a guy that everyone's going to have their eyes on. He's going to get a lot of preseason accolades. He's going to be a candidate for preseason player of the year and all that. I know you mentioned the team is obviously going to miss the scoring punch of Ian Martinez, but people are going to look to Mason Falslev to kind of make up for that in part, maybe take a bigger step forward. And my question is, how big of a step forward do you think he could take? Because people are looking to him to have a career trajectory like that of Sam Merrill and J.C. Carroll, and that's quite the comparison. But there's people that believe that he can eventually live up to those legacies of these former Aggie greats. Just how possible do you feel like that is for a guy like Mason?
Definitely possible. The great thing about Mason is he's a worker. He lives in that gym, and he cares deeply about not only, the team being good, but himself being good as well. So he's in here every day working on his perceived weaknesses and stuff. And he's been awesome this summer just in terms of his leadership role too. That's another area. It's not just about the scoring of the points, right? We need, great basketball. All great basketball teams need great leaders. And that's one area I think That's not going to show up on a box score per se, but I think he's already, from last year to this summer, taking great strides and kind of being that voice and being that guy that the great thing about Mason is he's got juice every day. When you walk in that gym, you're going to hear his voice. He's got a great way about him, great positive attitude. He kind of gets the other guys going. And that, to me, obviously, statistically, he needs to be good for us, right? But, he needs to be a great leader, and he's well on his way to continuing to be even a better leader than he was last year, right? I think the strides that he's taken already this summer, I'm super excited about how he can help lead us and be the guy for us this year, definitely.
Last question from me, Coach. Appreciate your time spending with us. Just the recent announcement with Grand Canyon moving up their timetable of joining the Mountain West and having them on the schedule this year. That's a program that's been in the NCAA tournament for the last 5 years. They have a pretty good basketball tradition here recently. How the Utah State men's basketball coaching staff kind of reacting to that announcement?
Yeah, we're excited. We're very excited. Anytime you can get. It's funny, we were actually kind of just mapping that out yesterday as a staff in one of our meetings. We feel like that's probably, at worst, at least one additional quad two. We don't know. It'll be an inbound schedule now, that there's an extra team. We're not going to play the true home and home. But we'd like to get them twice because we feel like that's 2 additional games, at their place. If they finish, I believe it's top 75 in the net, and we play them at their place, that's another quad 1 opportunity for us. So all those metrics really count come Selection Sunday. And we're trying to, obviously we're trying to win the Mountain West tournament, but we're also trying to put ourselves in a position where if we're not able to do that, we're still, not sweating it out on Selection Sunday. We want to be playing in that NCAA tournament. So we feel like it's great because it gives us 2, at least 1, if not 2 more games to really boost our at-large resume. So for us, that's always a bonus. We can get those types of games.
Well, we'll be looking forward to those matchups along with the entire rest of the season. So, and thank you so much for coming on to our show and giving us a chance to talk to you about the team and the upcoming season.
Absolutely. I appreciate you guys having me. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Coach.
All right, we're going to go ahead and take a break, and we'll be back after this here on the Full Court Press.